Hello and welcome back to our Planet Zoo Haunted Zoo mini-series or whatever this is called. So far in this mini zoo, we have created a graveyard that leads up to our haunted mansion. And today we are going to be creating a fun little swampy moment around the actual mansion. So behind the graveyard, but on either side of the mountain, is going to be just kind of a gross, witchy, like swamp. We're going to be putting in the gharial on one side and the spotted caiman on the other side. Those ones are obviously not new animals from the Twilight Pack. So far, we've put in the skunk, the wombat, and the fruit bat from the new pack. But there are no animals that made sense to put in a swamp in the pack, I don't think. So essentially, it's fine. We're going to use some of the older animals, and I think I don't know. I don't think there's a problem with that. This is not meant to really be a Twilight Pack showcase by any means. The house we built in the last episode was mostly the Twilight Pack, but even this swamp, I mean, it's mostly stuff that we already have, besides a couple of the trees. So I think I've said it previously in the episodes as well, but if you wanted to build something like this, you could build it with some of the previous packs as well. The Twilight Pack was just kind of what kicked off me wanting to do something like this in the first place. So this is where we are going in with the fog again. So we did a bunch of fog in the graveyard, and we're doing the fog again in the swamp. I think it just adds so much to the spookiness. We're also going straight neon green, or I guess it's not quite neon green, but bright green here, because mostly we're viewing this at night anyway. Like the idea is to do the zoo walkthrough in the dark. So it just kind of adds a little bit to it. It's not too over the top like it is when you look at it in the middle of the day, like when we're building. But yeah, overall, what I wanted to do here, bunch of broken trees. We brought some of the tall trees in from the ones we used in the graveyard. The colorful trees are more around the actual mansion itself. Graveyard, or the actual swamp, is, not meant to have much living in it, essentially, other than, a couple of lily pads just for show and a handful of reeds. That's basically what I'm looking for here, is those the ones that aren't the cattail ones. I'm not entirely sure even what they're called, but I thought these fit very well in here as well. But very easy build, and I think turns out very cool for like a way to do a background. This one is a lot quicker than the previous build, obviously, but yeah, I think, I don't know, it's nice every once in a while to do something that's a little bit easier of a build. I have some really cool ideas to go forward with some of our other zoos with some of these new pack pieces, and I want to build a giant castle in our cold zoo coming up here, now that we have so many more options for like Gothic style castle pieces. So that's going to be super fun and super detailed and take a lot of work. So for this one, I just wanted to have a little bit of fun quickly before Halloween. We're doing something simple. In this case, that is a cute little swamp. I think it gets the point across, and I think it looks really good in the end, especially once we get the lighting in as well. But I wanted to give the guests an opportunity to, actually walk through the swamp and take a look at the animals. We've got the railings so they can't jump up on the sides. Would this be realistically safe to walk through a gharial or caiman habitat with only a small railing separating you and the beasts? Probably not. Very likely not that close to the water. But, it's Planet Zoo. We can have a little fun with it. And also, everything's turned off in this mode anyway. We're playing on creative and no animal welfare and stuff for this build, which is not something I usually do. I usually always build on, I actually prefer franchise mode as a gameplay option in general, but yeah, I don't know. Usually I take more animal welfare stuff into account, but this one we're doing quick. We're not taking that into account. So on this little island here, I wanted to build basically a very simple witch hut is what I was going for here. Just kind of something quite small. It'll act as an animal shelter, but it's just kind of meant to have a little something built in here. I didn't end up building anything on the other side. So this is really the only physical build of this episode, but I think it's cute. I think it works out. Makes for a nice little scenery piece. And I will bring the pathway around to like walk around this island. So that's kind of the idea is people would come, maybe look. I don't remember which one's in this habitat. I don't know if it's the Gharial or the Cayman, but the animals will, it's probably be a point of where they like to sleep and that kind of thing. So the guests can come and watch and yada yada. It's all just for, ultimately, it's all just for show. It's all good. So I was trying to figure out what roof pieces to use because the image that I had in mind as a reference had like the moss on the roof. Like really mossy, kind of whatever. I assume it was maybe a wooden roof or something. But I decided to go with the thatch roof just because it seemed to kind of get the point across. And I added some moss and stuff later on. But that is one thing that's kind of hard to do in this game is make green roofs. I think I noticed that before as well. I've tried to build like like those green kind of eco style ones in the past as well. And the green pieces don't fit very well on roofs, but I mean, it's a pretty niche need anyway. But here's our, quick little cabin. Very cute. So I thought about doing a door here first, and then was of course struggling with getting anything straight on my wonky ground. But then I realized we don't need a door because this is going to be an animal shelter. We should probably just give them a little opening to like walk into. So that was all a little bit in vain, but that's totally fine. And I wanted these spooky little windows on the side as well. So these ones will glow nice and green. Green, I think I picked green for these ones because the whole swamp is going to be glowing green in the end, as you probably see from the thumbnail. But yeah, just wanted to have a couple of, these are obviously fake windows. I guess if this was a real like prop kind of thing, it would be fake. You're not making it all green inside for the animals. But I think it kind of gets the point across and it looks pretty good. So here's where I realized, no, I know it's all, the animals don't need a shelter, but I still want to give them one, make this at least look like it has kind of a point to it. So that's all I did here, just make it open instead so they could go inside. And then trying to play around with how to make the roof look a bit mossier. These pieces I think do an okay job. They kind of stick out a little bit, but they look pretty natural. And then I just kind of threw in a little bit of this for some green as well. Doesn't look too great in the bright light, but once it gets to be dark, I think it works just fine. And the reference image that I had like I think it was like an elk head or something, like, or just maybe it was just horns. I can't remember. Coming out of the front of the building. So I thought, oh, maybe I could put an animal head up here as like a little statue. And most of them were way too big, but the gator one here worked fine. So it works on theme as well, which is great. But we're just gonna fill in this area with a few more plants and trees just to make it look a little more intentional. So really only intentional area here, and of course fixing the path around the island and back, so our guests can walk all the way through here. Even though I've basically turned off guests while building because I want to be able to show the tour without having a whole bunch of people around. But we can. It's all up for imagination anyway, isn't it? But yeah, last thing here is basically just going to be lighting. So I had to play around quite a bit with getting the lighting to work the way that I wanted. I do find that, I don't know, these spotlights, like they work better than most lights in this game. Most lights in the game are way too dim to do anything good with, but they're also like, they never quite give the illusion that I'm trying to get. So I put them all down. I was like, well, this is kind of weird. Like it's so bright in some spots, yada, yada. And then I realized what's going to be better for this is if I make everything backlit. So now it looks really good when you're looking at it from the guest point of view, which makes sense. Like you're looking at it from the mansion out towards the swamp. It looks a little funny from the back here because it's so bright, but essentially you're looking at, like the silhouette of the trees in this green light. And I think it actually turned out really good. So I'll have to play around with that a little bit more. That technique a bit more in future zoos and stuff when I like want some lighting in the back of habitats, but don't want the like super bright light shining directly on directly on the actual habitat. I had to play around with it quite a bit here too, because I wanted that house really nice and lit up, but it was like reflecting really weirdly off the pathways and stuff like that, so it looks too bright. I do end up fixing it a bit. I move the lights way back out of the way, just like that one. It's like buried underground, just like hidden. You can't really like use these red lights in any kind of realistic way. At least I haven't been able to like figure out how to do that. But yeah, I think I just end up moving these way back so that it's kind of like you can still see some shadows and stuff, because this one is a little bit different since the guests are going to be walking all the way around it. You're not only looking at it from the mansion point of view, you're also looking at it walking around. But in the end, I think it looks pretty cool. The only thing I was thinking after the fact here was I did miss I wanted to do more of those like mushrooms, the like spooky mushrooms that came with this pack. And stuff like that I thought would fit really well in the swamp, and then I totally forgot that they existed when I did this build. So I might throw those in before the finale tour. I might kind of soup it up a little bit more with those, but I don't know, you can let me know what you think, if it needs it, or if it's good how it is, or if there's anything else you think I missed. Obviously, these episodes are all pre-filmed, so I won't be able to see your comments like before the next episode, but I will post everything, or I'll see the most of your comments, except for maybe on the last video. I should be able to see them all before I do the final tour. I'll do the final tour right after posting the 4th episode of this little mini series, if that made any sense. So leave me your comments, because I can make some changes before the final tour, is basically what I'm trying to say. So yeah, last little part here is just making the actual habitats. Nothing really that exciting, just obviously didn't want them to be escaping. Other than that, I'm not bothering with food or enrichment or anything in this series, so pretty easy to do. Just basically had to make some of the barriers a little bit higher so that they couldn't get out and around on the hilly parts. But yeah, here's the Gharial. So Gharial's in on this one with the witch hut. I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, that is basically all for this one. Enjoy the kind of cinematic shots here coming up at the end, and leave me your comments. Let me know what you think of this little mini series so far, and I will talk to you in the next one.